Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lip Service, a podcast of our coming out stories. I am your host, Pam Myers, and I am here today with G Sparx. G is coming to us from New Mexico area. And G, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation. And I want to back up. I'm Pam Myers, and my pronouns are she, her. And G, do you have preferred pronouns?
Yes, my pronouns are they, them,
They, them. All
and
right. Thank you.
ella if you're speaking Spanish.
All right. Thank you. Um, how? So we chatted for a few minutes before we started recording, and you have quite the gender journey to explain to our listeners. Do you want to go ahead and start with your story?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Pam. I Yeah, it began actually when I mean, I've always felt gender ambiguous for as soon as that there was language. And I loved like playing with gender. I loved, you know, my ideal uh outfit would have been, mismatch pattern with a tie. And I love wearing like skirts with a tie and just really subverting gender in that playful way. um, I joke that I love yes to all of the above. So I really like playing with gender in that way. Um, and I didn't realize that I would medically transition um, until it was actually in structural integration school. And um, I was learning about the body and the structure and the impact of, I had very, very large breaths, and they started to hurt my back and had impact on my body. And I realized, okay, I'm definitely going to get a reduction surgery. And I at first thought it was just for, my back. But as I really sat with it, I was like, "But I want to go as flat as possible, and I want to play with how can I have like kind of a gender ambiguous chest? How can I like non-flat, but also like maintain enough tissue to keep that femme quality, but also be mask at the same time, all of the above." and
Yeah.
but I thought that in order to get insurance to cover it, I would have to like play the cisgender um, role of like, oh, it hurts my back, and really focus on that aspect. And so I went through that process. I met with 7 surgeons over a 4-year period, and ended up finally choosing a surgeon who I didn't feel comfortable or good about him, but it was like, well, this is what I can do. Medicaid will cover it. But then I ended up getting denied going that route because I didn't wear the bras that like leave a groove.
Mhm.
So that was one of the requirements. And there was one other I'm not remembering. I think like leaving marks on your body.
Okay.
And so I wasn't able to go that route, but also going that route, I felt icky. Like I was at the doctor's office having to like pretend, and hide
Mm.
my gender and hide my, just who I am. And so um I'm really grateful actually that I got denied, but then I surrendered and was like, well, I am not going to go that route, and I'm going to just be honest with like who I am and what I want, and see if there's a surgeon that will meet me. And I did meet one in Texas who yeah, was like, great, anything you want we could do. Like basically shared with me that there's whatever I wanted she was able to do, and I was like, amazing. But it was also like there wasn't a specific like these are the options. It was just like the world is your oyster, anything is possible. And I was kind of overwhelmed, but also like, okay, we're gonna go that route. But it was $11,000 that I had to raise, not including the cost of travel, the cost of staying somewhere, the cost, it was gonna be
Wow.
extraordinary amount of money. And so, but I started and I was like, well, I'm gonna raise the money. And one of the things I do as a body worker is I teach continuing education classes, anti-oppression and ethics of diversity, naming our isms. And I was actually in Washington teaching these classes when I was hiking in the morning, and I had this realization of like, what if? Oh yeah. And my community had been asking me, when are you going to teach to like all of us? When are you going to teach to the community?
Mm.
And I was like, very kind of intimidated. It's easy to teach this work to like people who are beginning on the journey, but people who are like in my community, I felt a little intimidated by.
Right.
But I was like, okay, I'm going to say yes to that. And what if, like, teaching an anti-oppression work is the foundation of my chest? What if like that will be like, how amazing would that be for my chest to be on the foundation of dismantling systems of oppression? And so I had this clarity of like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to raise like $15,000 and make it happen. And then while I was in Washington, there was this really intense thing that happened. Trigger warning for those of you, there's gun violence in this story.
Mhm.
Um, there was a police shooting actually right in front of my house, and 3 of the bullets went into my massage room where I practice.
Oh.
And it was wild too, because it was like a diagonal across at the belly button and heart level.
Oh.
And but I wasn't even in the state. I wasn't home and I wasn't even in the state. And thank God, no one in the home was hurt. The person who they were shooting at did get shot at, but he survived.
Wow.
Anyways, it was a whole thing. It was very challenging, and that
Right.
really shook me in a big way. It was like gun violence literally hit home. I
Mhm.
was in the ocean quite literally at that time. And so like I like to think that the ocean saved me, and I had a whole island to like grieve and like emote on. But anyways, so that kind of took my focus for a while of like focusing on my home. But then also that vision that I had was like still whispering, and I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. It was a beautiful distraction, and it was also a beautiful way to like bring community together. So I was like,
Mhm.
well, how would I do anti-oppression work in my community? And I was like, in community and collaboration, of course. So I reached out to 10 different co-facilitators, and and all were queer, BIPOC, and the vision or the intention was to center queer and trans and BIPOC wisdom and leadership,
Mhm.
and voices and perspective. And so many of them said yes. And so then every single month for the year after the shooting, we came together. It was called Raíz Together Liberation School.
Mhm.
And we, yeah, learned different things. We learned about the history of oppression. We learned about clay as a way to, you know, heal, and also like it's just such a beautiful tool
Mhm.
for like somatic support. And we did a grief ceremony, and just like every month was something different. It was really beautiful. We envisioned our future elders. So I felt so grateful and blessed, but also like a fraud at the same time. Imposter syndrome was really strong because I was like, I am depressed and having a really hard time with this like the trauma of the impact of what happened, but I'm also supposed to be this teacher, like I know what's happening. But I was just really honest throughout the whole time of like, I am struggling. And every single time we met, I felt like filled up, like my cup was filled up. So that was just a really powerful um, way to move through that hard times.
Mhm.
And in retrospect, that totally raised the amount of money that I would need to do my reduction or my top surgery. And
Mhm.
then also so this started in May, and in June is when I actually met the magical leprechaun surgeon of my dreams. Um, and I say that because there was just so much about him that was just so perfect. First of all, he only worked with gender expansive clients.
Oh.
Second of all, he saw me and was able to give me a radical reduction, and was able to like validate like, yes, this is absolutely gender affirming care. Like you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not, and you get to receive the care that you deserve. The scar, the incision pattern that he had was very unique.
Mhm.
So the incision was around the nipple and under the chest so that the scars would be very hidden, which is not. And he was like, I just wanted to offer you a very affirmed look, rather than having like a T-shaped scar. And I was just like, that was amazing. But then also, I asked him if he would talk to me while I was under, And
Uh-huh.
he said yes. and
Wow.
and not only did he talk to me, he said that the rest of the team followed suit. And I'm just like, that seems like a best practice to keep the person in the room even when they're under anesthesia, you know.
Right.
So there was so much about him that was just, and get this, Medicaid covered it. So
Wow.
all of the money that I had raised, I was able to put that towards another project, which, well, I will say that that did support me for not having a job for a month and a half because my work is very dependent on my physical body being able to do the
Right.
work. But also, um, I in that time with Raíz Together Liberation School, during that time, I ended up writing a children's book. Um, and it was partly inspired because when people ask me about my, finding the surgeon and all of that process, 4-year process, I'd be like, it's too boring, it's too big, like it was meeting surgeon after surgeon and like being told no or like not feeling right or so then I ended up writing a cute children's book about it where
Oh,
um, I was a tour de font and the tour de font, so tour de font means like half tortoise, half leopard or half elephant.
mhm.
And so I was in a community of tortoises and elephants who all knew that they were either a tortoise or an elephant. And so those who were born as a tour de font were able to find magical elders, animal elders, to help them with their transition to become either the tortoise or elephant that they knew they were on the inside. But I felt like a tour de font. I didn't want such a big shell because it was hurting my back and weighing me down and disconnecting me from people. But I did want to maintain my shell.
Mhm.
And so many of the animal elders told me that I had to choose one or the other. It was very binary, you know. Many surgeons told me I only do it this way or that way, or you have to choose. And
And
so um, then in the story, when I met the magical leprechaun who had slid down on a rainbow, yeah, I was able to get the transition of my or transformation of my dreams, or Gigi, the tour de femme, was able to get the transformation of her dreams. And then what's amazing is that my story actually became a blueprint for my activism. So in the story, um, Gigi uses the coconuts and bananas that she had collected because, by the way, one of the animal elders who told her she could get um, you know, the shell of her dreams was an orangutan elder in a community where her work is very it's very endangered.
mhm.
And that's kind of what we're seeing now in the political landscape, right? Where gender affirming care providers are endangered in this landscape. And so I decided to plant seeds, the coconuts and banana seeds that I had collected in order to get the transformation that I didn't need since I had my magical leprechaun who was tapped into the magical source of abundance, Medicaid. So it was covered. And then grow the forest to bring the rain, to bring more rainbows so that more magical leprechauns can come. And so
Oh,
I didn't know what that meant intellectually at the time when I wrote it, but what I ended up doing is I was inspired after this compassionate magical care that I received that was so affirming and kind that I became a gender doula. And I ended up supporting multiple of my community members to get the chests of their dreams as well. And the other amazing thing about this doctor surgeon is that he also it doesn't matter the BMI, he will work with you,
mhm.
which is very rare to find, you know. And so I was able to support folks even to the point my pinnacle moment I felt like in my care was I was able to give a limpia, which is like a traditional medicine energetic cleansing for my surgeon and also the client before and after surgery,
Oh, wow.
which was really really special and is kind of a north star for me. I would love for that like bridge between traditional medicine wisdom and
Mhm.
Western medicine. Um, so because imagine like all of the dysphoric tissue that is released, all of the traumatized tissues that's released in this very vulnerable moment is
Mhm.
being released into the room, is going somewhere. And if there's not like cleansing or letting go of it, then it is going to like stay.
Attach itself to something, right? Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
So that was really a special, um yeah, that was like a really special, I don't even want to say conclusion, but like culmination
Mhm,
of the work and the vision that I had um worked towards. And then um in this, I was asked by one of my providers, who was another excellent gender affirming provider locally, who
mhm,
asked me, "So are you having people pay for it, or are you having insurance pay for it?" And so she told me if I became a community health worker, I could I could actually just get insurance to cover my services so the client wouldn't have to pay me. So I
mm,
went through that process, and in that I was meeting with different organizations to kind of build out a strategy
mhm,
to basically, yeah, like build a network of compassionate care providers. And then an organization that I had reached out to had their founder, their executive director, was actually going through some transitions and needed to step down, and has been training me to potentially take that organization over.
wow,
And so that was really amazing. We're still in the like transition and figuring it out. The board needs to make the final decision, but it's just wild that the universe is like, yes, this is where you need to be, and here's the supports you need. And I had this vision of like, can we bring together providers, gender affirming care, gender affirming medical providers, as well
mhm,
as traditional healers, to bridge the gap in care, to support, Western providers who are overworked, who are, their bodies are, I don't know, maybe some of them have a relationship with healing, but
mhm,
many of them don't have the time, the energy, or the knowledge to really like, care for their bodies. And so I had this vision of a medicine fair, queer and trans heart affirming medicine fair. And so I brought it to this executive director who I was like in collaboration with, and she was like, "Oh, we already have a grant for that. Great. I'll fund it, make it happen." And so that's going to be October 18th. And
wow,
so we're going to be, yeah, bringing these providers together and having community conversations and visioning about how we can co-create um, a forest of care, an ecosystem of care that is truly compassionate and affirming. So yeah, I'll pause there. I know that was a lot.
no, no, that's really fantastic. But, well, so many things. Like, how did you find the care worker, the healthcare worker, the doctor, the surgeon, whatever the correct terminology is, that you finally went with, that you really just thought was this magical person? How did you find them, and were they here in New Mexico?
Yes, that's the other thing. He was in the closest hospital to my house.
Oh
So I
my.
found him through word of mouth, because here's the deal. He was a resident. And so not a lot of people knew about him. You couldn't really find him online.
Mhm,
But a friend of mine had gone to him and just had this like good feeling about it. And
mhm,
even though he did have like 100 surgeries under his belt, but he didn't have like images to show. He didn't have a ton of gender affirming surgeries to show.
mhm.
And definitely I was the first person who wanted what I wanted to work with him. But my heart just knew, this is the person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was through word of mouth. And now, guess what? He got into Johns Hopkins University, but sadly, he's no longer offering care or taking on new clients at UNM,
Okay.
because he is like one, I mean, residency is a short period.
Right.
And so I literally like found him in that magical little
Sure.
window where he um
Right. Like, everything fell into place so beautifully for you. That I love how all those steps just kind of happened,
mhm,
which is a wonderful part of your story.
yes.
How okay, so did you, um, talk about a moment about your, uh, being a gender doula? Like, do you do that a lot? I love that you're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, so what's wild is that as soon as I announced it to to the community, I had immediately 5 different clients who were like, "I want to work with you."
Mhm,
And sadly, some of them ended up being canceled because my doctor was asked to let go of
mm,
um, yeah, clients who didn't already have their surgeries booked.
mm,
But I was able to work with um, three, and it was, yeah, so it just depends on what the need is. So I had one client who needed before, like, attend accompaniment for their appointments before
mhm,
and after. They needed aftercare support, and so like making sure they're fed, uh, connecting them with the top surgery care network, which I also am a part of, making sure that all of their needs are met with our community. And so
yeah,
that was like the most care that I offered. It was yeah, all of the needs. And then some of them it was just, I just want to ask you questions beforehand, or I mean, the one I shared with you about that I was able to give the limpia before and after. And actually, their mom also asked me if I could give her limpia too. It was just a really special, that was
right.
um, just really special. So I haven't, because most of my clients I'm working with are with this particular surgeon, I don't have a lot booked right now,
Mhm,
but I am still open to it. And but right now I'm focusing my energies on political advocacy. Oh,
mhm,
that's another thing I did is I created a petition when my surgeon was asked to let go of his clients. There was like a fire in me that was like, we deserve this care, because they were then referring people out of state.
mm,
And I
mhm,
was like, why is there no one behind him? Like, why is there no one taking on this very important role?
right.
Um, and so because of that advocacy, I was informed that UNM is now having conversations that they have literally never had before to co-create a gender affirming care um, program. And yeah, I'm not sure where they're at in that process. And I know with everything going on politically that maybe that might be on hold or on pause until the political situation shifts. Um, but yeah, it's just amazing to know that there's that my advocacy and my voice makes a difference, has a
Yeah.
difference.
Oh, wow, that's thank you for initiating that and spearheading it. I mean,
Hmm.
that's huge, and just to get sometimes it's just, um, initiating that first conversation to get the ball rolling, right? To get
Hmm.
conversation started and help people to understand what the need is and why the need is there, and then they can continue, right, to see how they can make it happen for situations like that.
Absolutely.
How and now you have actually, when I wanted to touch upon something else too before, I asked my, last question, but you talked about, um, you had to vision your future elders. What that is, like a really interesting experience. It must have been a fascinating experience. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, that was a powerful one. That was Brianna was the facilitator, and it was a vision that they had. And actually, oh, I forgot to talk about my getting on testosterone. They're the person who inspired me to get on testosterone
Mhm,
as well, which has been just life-changing and really, really amazing for my mental health, emotional, everything.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, so Brianna had created this beautiful um, activity where we were it was quite emotional for some folks, because to think about future elder, it it's a hard, vulnerable thing. It's like, what can I do now to support my becoming a future elder? How do I want to be in my elderhood? And so it was a really beautiful, powerful imagining, and yeah, activity, and I just want to attribute it to the visionary behind it.
right, right.
Yeah.
Um, Hannah, you also, you wanted to talk about was that what you wanted to say about being on testosterone? When
Yeah, I mean, I guess as a gender queer person, you don't hear a lot about medical transition for gender queer folks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a cultural backlash and like messaging around being on HRT,
Mm-hmm.
and how dangerous it is or how it impacts the water, or we don't actually know the scientific, like what happens long term, and there's kind of a lot of fear around it. But I was blessed to be within a community of folks who really knew a lot of the like benefits and potential. Actually, I was sent by Devin, who is a beloved who I met also, right. Actually, they had surgery 5 days before me. They're an amazing human being. Um, and yeah, they shared that, yeah, a video about how even for cisgender women, testosterone can be really supportive for menopause symptoms, for just like there's so many benefits. And the physical benefits that I've experienced is like I have more energy. I'm not in bed all the time. Like I'm more assertive. I used to be very like emotional in a way that like I would take on other people's emotions as my own. Like I didn't have a lot of like boundaries. I would feel their feelings and then like think that by me feeling them so strongly I could heal them or something. But that was actually very detrimental and I think maybe contributed to the exhaustion and the um yeah, challenges that I had. And so now I'm much more like I will take on my own emotional landscape and not bleed over onto you or take yours on. And so there's like a physical boundary that I feel much more connected to that I didn't before. So there's been so many gifts that testosterone has given me. I'm a year in officially, and I'm on a micro dose, but I'm just loving the little changes, little mustache that's growing, and little, facial hair feels really exciting. Um, yeah, there's just so much about it. I even love my belly. I'm growing a belly because that's one of the things is the fat redistribution
Uh-huh.
that happens. And, we live in a fat phobic world where we're taught to think our bellies, when they grow, are ugly or something
Mhm.
like that, or something to be ashamed of.
Right.
And that like whisper comes in here and there, but mostly I think of it as this like, little babies with those big round bellies are the cutest things you've ever seen. I think of my belly like that. It's this cute, lovely companion that is with me, and I just really honor all of the changes that are happening.
That's so beautiful. I love that you're embracing that. That is just really beautiful. We too much emphasis is put on on what some profile of what we should, what's the ideal body type,
Mm.
right? And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
completely on the same page with you. Um, okay, you also wrote and authored another book, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. The little heart that could.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a cute one. I actually wrote it before this whole transition journey, but for some reason, I guess, being on testosterone and like having the energy and the oomph and the um I was able to actually publish it. So it's a book I wrote 3 years ago about healing from pain and trauma, in a hard relationship.
Hmm.
But essentially the premise is, um, when little purple heart who poked little red heart, because she herself had pokes. And so when you have pokes, like when you're hurt, you hurt others until you heal your own heart. And so then little red heart passed that poke on and poked others. And so it's this like cute book about, you know, learning how to heal those pokes. And so she actually learned from the wisdom of catalpa, which is a tree that has a flower, and the flower essence of the catalpa is actually good for healing from childhood trauma or old wounds, old pokes. Like it's wild that I found that out, that that's actually what it's good for. So it actually has a recipe for how to make your own flower essence.
Oh,
Um, and and also listening to the wisdom of your own body
Mhm.
to heal. And then it inspired me to do kind of a series where I tune into different flowers and see what they're like, feel into what their message is, and
Mhm.
channel that into a children's book. And Little Red Heart is gonna like have different journeys. Um and actually, when I shared this with the community, I actually made these flower essence little heart medicines. This one is a glitter roll on. I also made like dropper and spray essences. And when I shared it, actually, Brianna, that same person that I referenced earlier, was putting on this event called Grief Prom.
Mhm.
And the event was about stripping, clowning, and grief. It was
Uh,
such a great three, like that was the theme. And I was like, how would I do that? I know I'm going to do a striptease to this children's book. And I had an elder grandmother, Alta Gracia, who served as grandmother Rainbow Heart, um, and also a few friends. And we did this like beautiful, hilarious striptease to the story itself. And then I shared we actually made catalpa essence in the performance and then shared it out with the community. So again, this became a blueprint because that's what happens in the story. And that's what I ended up doing in the performance. So it was like an embodiment of the story. It was really cool.
I love that. That's so beautiful. How now somebody wants to get copies of your books. How can they do that?
Yeah. So it's great. I don't know if you have heard of Ingram Sparks, but it's a pay as you print service.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, or pay as it's ordered. And so they can find it. I'm working on putting it up on my website. And yeah, maybe I could share that with you and you could put it in the show notes or something.
Yes.
But yeah, so it would be ordered through Ingram Sparks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
INGRAM?
INGRAM, but I
Mhm.
think I'll have it on my website.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we'll just direct to go to your website. And what is your tell your website for the listeners that cannot see visually. What is your
Sure. It's sites.google. It's a Google site. So sites.google.com/view/Raiz Therapeutics.
Okay. All
And then
right.
to go to the books dash merch, you would add slash books dash merch.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, G, for being such a lovely guest on the podcast today.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And if you have any questions for G, you can reach out to them through their website. We'll also put it in the social media post when this posts. So watch out for that so you can catch it and reach out to them and get a copy or both copies of their book. So thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for supporting this podcast. And if you are in an area where you are looking to connect with community and you do not have anyone or not sure where to go, please reach out to us through our website, lipservice.media, and we'll be happy to help connect you. And if you want to share your story, please do. You can go to lipservice.media and click on our link to share your story. So, again, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.